Hey guys, quick one. I'm back with just a short, what I would call a ramble rant. Okay, but like part ramble, part rant, and to be honest, it's not even very much of a rant. It's what I would really like to call a point to ponder because I'm not actually attacking anyone. I'm not attacking any idea. I'm not making anybody wrong. I don't think anybody out there is full of shit or ripping anybody off or anything like that. But I've just, today I've actually seen. I don't play the Facebook game the way most people play the Facebook game, right? So I don't come on and trawl my news feed and see what everybody else is doing and see what my air quotes competitors are doing or my peers or any of that kind of stuff. I'm fairly selfish when it comes to Facebook, but in a way that really serves me. And what I mean by that is that when I come onto Facebook, I go to my groups, my tribes, my walls, my page. I pick up my personal messages. That's it, right? I don't go trawling around the Facebook news feed. I don't generally tend to know what most people are up to. So it's only when they're kind of in my places and communicating with me that I really get to find out anything about Facebook land in general. I'm more concerned about what happens in my tribes. But today just happens to be one of those days where, for whatever reason, I found myself doing a little bit of Facebook trawling. Some stuff came up, and I happened to be on the page where the feed comes on, as opposed to my own personal page, which is very rare for me. And I also, today happens to be a day where I've got a couple of emails from people whose mailing lists I'm on, and everybody. I'm not about to name any names. There's no name and shame because there's nothing to be ashamed of. These are very well-intentioned people with extremely high integrity that I trust. I completely trust. So there's no like finger point. It's not that kind of a rant. But it just, like I say, it's a bit of a point to ponder. It kind of, some of the things that they were saying really got me thinking. One of the things was kind of related to extreme high end and the idea that if you're really amazing at what you did, you simply wouldn't need to spend any money on ads. You wouldn't have to build all these funnels out. You wouldn't have to kind of do any of the stuff that, so many of the people are telling you to do. Well, kind of this was a sort of like anti version of that. And it's like, that's bullshit. You don't have to do any of that because if you're as good as you say you are, people would come to you word of mouth. Another email that I got was from someone who back in the day used to be extremely high ticket. And kind of, I remember going to events, and some of the events were like 20k to attend, and back in the day, 10 years ago, 10k, it was a lot of money to attend. And in fact, it was one of the first people that I ever experienced do anything at those kind of price points, and I felt wow, and I was really inspired by the idea and really kind of got the entire story about high ticket. And yet, kind of recently, it's been more along the lines of kicking people's arse and for even the idea of entertaining high ticket and saying that there are so many people out there trying to rip people off, and actually the way to go is to go much lower ticket and higher volume, and that you don't need to be a high ticket person. In fact, being high ticket might mean a whole bunch of bad things about you, and you name it, right? And I won't go too deep into it. Well, look, the interesting thing about both of these approaches, so as you can see, they're kind of in opposition. One is all about going kind of fairly low end, getting high volume. The other one is going really high end. But if you go really high end, you shouldn't need funnels, and you shouldn't need book launches, and you shouldn't need this, and you shouldn't need that. People should just be telling. Well, look, my point to ponder is this. Very often the experts that are teaching us stuff, and I'm sure this goes for me, this would be me included, which is why I'm always really trying to be aware of the journey that people are currently on and where they are in their journey. But I think there's a tendency for people to actually forget how they got to where they've gotten, right? So, for example, you're extreme high ticket, and you did all the talks, and you wrote all the articles, and you went on all the podcasts, and you kind of spent a whole bunch of money back in the day on Google ads and all the stuff that all of us are still kind of trying to do now. And yet now, because your high-end mastermind is filled, and basically whenever you need a couple more people in it, you just open it up to your people in your mastermind and say, hey, we're looking for another couple of people to join, and they refer you people in. It's very easy to fall into the trap of thinking that it's always been like this because there's a kind of recency bias. Right? We generally tend to think, kind of, even though we always remember back in the day, we kind of generally tend to draw our conclusions about what life is like from what we're living right now, which is right and proper in many respects, right? But that's what we're living right now. That's our experience. And so we look and we say, well, shit, I'm not doing any funnels, and I'm not doing any Facebook marketing, and I'm not writing a shit ton of content every night of the week, like some of these guys. You don't need all this. And of course, you don't when you're at critical mass. But you did in order to get to that point, right? Likewise, the person who used to be extremely high ticket and who's kind of gone more down the membership or subscription route, and now they've reached kind of the point where they've got, 5, 6, 7, 8,000 people paying them £197 a month, for example. Well, they forget all the things that they did to reach that critical mass where enough people kind of said, oh my God, 197 quid a month, what a bargain. I'm going to jump in and do that. Now, there are a lot of people having real trouble selling a £197 product to a single person, right? And maybe you're one of those people who kind of even just asking for 197 one off is really, really tough. So my point here, and my point to ponder here, is not that anybody is right or anybody is wrong, and that kind of, or the flip side of this is these guys are full of shit, because they're really, really not. They're very, very high integrity people who offer amazing services, who really, really love and care for the tribes that they serve and support. But if you bought into any individual story at any moment in time, any one moment in time, you would easily start to think that, okay, that's the only way to do it. Now you've got to do this, switch off all the ads, forget about all the funnels, do everything by word of mouth, or screw all that high-end stuff, I've got to go low-end. My question to you, and my invitation to you, is to look at what it takes for you to reach some element of critical mass, and in a way that works for you, in a way that feels good for you. I'm very well known for both being high ticket, and I have been for a very, very long time, and also teaching and advocating the idea of high ticket. But I'm also very, very clear these days that high ticket is not some objective amount. Like once you cross £20,000 a year per client is high ticket. For me, high ticket is that point just beyond where you feel comfortable charging, right? If you've been charging £200 a month, and kind of you're thinking about putting your prices up, and you're crapping yourself for asking for £300 a month, then £300 a month for you right now is high ticket, right? So I'm not advocating that whatever career you're in and whatever point of your career you're in, you suddenly jump from where you are now and, hey, anybody can charge for a 50 grand product. I think anybody who's amazing and who has built some critical mass can do that. And this is why sometimes there seems to be a little bit of a kind of a disconnect for some people, right? The idea of being told to go really, really high ticket, but at the same time being told to do some free stuff. Well, understand some of the free stuff in the building up phase is for you to get your practice in, for you to kind of hear yourself saying the words over and over again to those people who aren't going to completely shoot you down in flames, for you to reach a point of critical mass. And then when you reach the point of critical mass, you get a lot of freedom to do things exactly how you want to do it, right? If you want to play the high ticket game with no funnels and no content, never put pen to paper again in your life, then you can kind of do that. But don't ever forget the fact that that wasn't how they got there. If you Google them, you'll see that there are usually hundreds, sometimes thousands of articles and videos. If you Google them, you'll see that their web pages are full of content very often. If you Google them, you'll see that kind of every single day they show up in Facebook with a conversation or a comment or something that gains traction. They're still doing the things, they're just doing it in a slightly different way to you. Likewise, if you see other people kind of saying that you kind of high end is really, really bad, and you got to kick that to the curb and go for kind of lower end, and just get yourself like 1,000 or 100 members at this, and you'll make a shit ton of money. Well, yes, it's absolutely true. You will. But how do you get your 100 members to give you the £197 per month in perpetuity, right? How do you get that to happen? You've got to get to critical mass. The reality of the situation is that there's only two things that earn you money. Two things. The words you speak and the words you write. Okay, the words you speak and the words you write. The more times you speak in a way that is deeply meaningful, resonant, and hits the some people would call pain points or whatever of your dream client, the more people are going to sign up with you to come and do something. Again, I said this was a ramble rant. I think I'm going off into more ramble than rant now, right? But I think you get the message, or I hope you get the message, and I hope in some ways this has served you and maybe just kind of released you from the extreme polarity that seems to be coming up, like never do this and always do that. To be honest, that's one of my first things to look out for when selecting a mentor or selecting a coach, is how extreme they are and how polarized they are in the view. The more polarized they happen to be, the less interested I am in them becoming anything to do with my business. Okay, I really want people to believe in what they believe in, but I certainly don't want them to be so polarized that they become myopic and they forget everything that led them to becoming the person that they become. With that, I'm going to end here because I'll just go on into another ramble otherwise. But I hope this has served you in some way. Till next time, take care.